Okay, hi guys. It's been in 2 days, it'll be 4 weeks since I last gave birth, and I figured I would do a birth story, but I was gonna make maybe a whole birthing vlog and everything, but honestly it went by so quickly I didn't really expect it, and I wasn't really planning on it because I knew that it was gonna happen. For some reason I just thought it was gonna happen at nighttime because my contractions were always at around the same time, and this is what happened with my daughter too. I used to have my contractions super like 2, 3 in the morning, and so I was like, oh, she's gonna be born late, and she was born at like 1:20. But I gave birth almost 4 weeks ago at 7 a.m. in the 7 in the morning is when he came out, but I went into labor at like midnight. So I figured I would do a little birth story, especially because I just got over the flu this week. It's been almost a week since I've had it, and everybody else in my house got it. So I got it, my daughter got it right after me, like literally 2 days after. And then my son has it now. His fever's already gone, thankfully, but he got it like right after, so he's been home. And this whole week is their spring break, and it sucked because we've all just been home, and of course we have a newborn. So it's been kind of chaotic. So yeah, I'm gonna tell you guys my little birth story because it went by really quickly, and it was just like the most intense birth I've had by far. So I felt that he was gonna come early. I kind of jokingly said it. I was like, I want him to be born on the 17th because that was like the lucky St. Patrick's Day, and of course the 17th is like my day as well because my birthday is the 17th. And so I jokingly told my husband, I was like, I want him to be born on the 17th. Sorry, there's people walking by and it probably looks so awkward, but okay. And I kind of jokingly said, I want him to be born on the 17th, but watch, he's probably going to be born on the 18th. And I knew it because with my son, I was almost going to have him on November 12th, 2013. So it was going to be 11/12/13, and then he was born 11/13/13. So I was like, he's probably gonna pull some kind of like trick like that. So anyway, so then I was all ready for St. Patrick's Day. I got like dolled up and everything because I was trying to like get ready just so that I could feel better. And of course I was already having like I was out of breath and I was running out of energy and I couldn't really like move, but I still hadn't felt I hadn't felt the baby drop, which like my other kids I did. I felt it drop, like, you know, you could feel like you can breathe better and everything. I hadn't felt the baby drop, so I started to get a little nervous because I was like, okay, I knew he was gonna, I've always felt like he was gonna come early, but for some reason, what was I saying? Yeah, so I started to get nervous because I was like, oh my god, what if I'm wrong? Like, I always felt like this whole pregnancy, this baby was gonna come early, and for some reason, it's taking longer. I don't know. I felt like I started getting nervous. It was that 17 was my 39 weeks, by the way. So then that night I decided, I was like, you know what, let me do what I usually do with my daughter. I would take a bath and I would you know, scrub and shave and do my hair, and you know, I wanted to get like pampered, like pamper myself. So I did. I got into the shower. I took a bath, I shaved, I scrubbed, I did my lotions, my oils, I washed my hair, everything you could think of. And then sorry. And then I ended up, you know, my hair was kind of wet, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna let it dry a little bit on its own, and then I'll like blow dry it or something, whatever. So then as I was getting ready for bed, there was no pain or anything, right? It was like 11:30 at night or something, and I went to lay down finally to like go to bed, and I was like, let me just wait for my hair to dry on its own, and then I'll style it in the morning or something. And so I lay down, and I don't know what it was, but I like felt a pop, not like your water breaking pop, like it literally felt like a pop, like just like that, but it was on my pelvic. like on my pelvic bone. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I was like, I wonder if he just like maybe like dropped, or maybe he just like hit something. I don't know, but I felt it. Like, it was so weird. I felt it. And so I was laying down and I was like, that's weird. It was like 11:50 at that point. Anyway, so I tried to go to sleep, and I was, needless to say, I was so tired from the night before because I had gotten terrible sleep the night before. So I was trying to make it a priority that I would go to sleep early so that I could be well rested just in case, you know? Anyway, so I ended up closing my eyes maybe for like 10 minutes, and I started feeling pains. And I was like, oh no. I was like, this is probably just like maybe another just light contractions that I usually get. I was like, I'm not going to overthink this. And then it started happening more consecutively. And so I was like laying down maybe for like 20 minutes. At this point, it's like 12:10 maybe. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to download like the contractions app to, you know, to keep track just in case. So I did. I downloaded it, and at first I was laying down and I was like, you know what, these are kind of like coming together, so I'm just gonna like start blowing dry my hair. So I got up, I put my AirPods in, and I went into the kids' bathroom so I wouldn't wake up everybody, and I started like blow drying my hair. So as I was blow drying my hair, I'm starting to get like painful contractions, and the whole time I'm trying to time them on my phone. My contractions started so close together right away. Like, they started at 5 minutes apart, like right off the bat. And then I was like, okay, it can't be that close. Like, it's so close, right? And then every time I would time it, I remember I would put it in the app, and it was 5 minutes, and they're like, okay, you're 5 minutes together, so we start getting ready to go to the hospital. And I was like, I'm not gonna do that. And so then I'm like sitting there listening to music, trying to like move my hips to try to like ease the pain as I'm blow drying my hair. And then by the time I was done blow drying my hair, I was like, let me just go into the like my room and make sure I have everything just in case. And so I go back into my room, my hair's dry, my contractions was getting to 2 minutes, and I was like, oh crap. I was like, it's getting so close. I was like, but I'm not in like horrible pain, right? And so I was like, I can just hold it in a little bit longer. And it's at this point, I think it's almost 1 a.m. or it is 1 a.m. Like, it's moving quick. So it was like almost 1 a.m. and then I'm standing there, and it got to the point that my contractions really started to hurt. Like, I was like, oh God, like I'm getting out of like breath. And I was like, damn it. I was like, I'm gonna have to go in. And so I was trying to hold it in, and so I like turned to my husband. I'm like, hey. And he's like, what? Like, baby time? And I was like, yeah, I'm having contractions. And so he was like, okay. He's like, let's get your stuff, blah, blah, blah. So we got our stuff, whatever. He was like, let me just get, you know, like I got like slippers on, and I had like leggings, and I had like just a tee or something on. I don't remember what I had on, but I was like super comfy stuff, right? And then he was like, okay, let's go. So we get into the car, and we end up driving. The hospital's right behind my house, like literally, like you can walk to it. So it was not like anything that it was going to be nervous, but the contractions were to that point very painful. But I was like, I'm just going to like try to like hold it in a little bit, you know, take my time. So we called, before we left, I called labor and delivery just to make sure that they were aware that I was coming in, because I did do the whole taking a Tylenol, waiting an hour. I think I did that after I started feeling the contractions. I took a Tylenol and I waited an hour, and it didn't help, and I started chugging water, and it didn't help. So I did let them know that I did all that stuff prior to. And then what was it? Okay, so then I got there, and she was like, okay, yeah, let's check you. So then they lay me down. She's like, you're at 4. She's like, but I highly doubt they're gonna send you home at this point. And I was like, okay, that's fine. She's like, but I'm gonna go talk to the doctor and make sure everything is set up. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm sitting there, I'm in pain at that point. I'm like trying to suck it up, and I'm trying to like hold it in. And so she was like, yeah, we're gonna admit you. We're just gonna, like, the doctor came in, she talked to me, she told me about, you know, like pretty much my birth plan. My birth plan, as always, is just get the baby out. I don't care how you do it. If I ever end up needing a C-section, well, fuck it, happens. If I, you know, anything doesn't matter as long as the baby gets out, right? So that was I talked to the doctor about this. I signed off the papers that I needed to sign off, and, you know, in case you need like blood transfusions and things like that. And then, so then by the time they moved me into the other room, my husband's like, I'm gonna go get the bags out of the car. Are you okay? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm fine, just go get it. So I'm standing there. And I decided to stand because it's just, when you're moving, the pain is a little more manageable than when you're sitting down because you have nowhere to go. So I was having horrible pains, and I looked down and there's blood just coming right out. And I was like, oh God. And so the nurse came in and she's like, it's okay. Like, she's like helping me like clean up. She's like cleaning it up or whatever. And then she's like, are you feeling okay? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. She's like, I'm going to start trying to get the anesthesiologist to come in because I do like the epidural. So I was like, okay, please, because I definitely need it. So finally she, so then I'm standing there a little bit longer, and then I touched down there, TMI, but I like felt it, and I was like, oh, maybe it's like my mucus plug. And so I told my husband, I was like, I think it's like my mucus plug because it feels just like it looks like mucus. It's gross. And so then I'm standing there, I'm having pains and pains and pains. And then she was like, did you want to maybe lay down for a little bit? Because she's like, you know, everything just is coming out. And I was like, yeah. So I go to sit down. The second I sit down, I feel my water break. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, it's happening, right? So then she's like, I'm trying to get the anesthesiologist. I can't find him anywhere. They're trying to call him and we can't find him. This has never happened. I'm so sorry. I'm going to find him for you. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, just my luck would it be that they can't find the anesthesiologist and I have to give birth without drugs, even though I've been saying I would probably try it without drugs. After you're in that pain, in that moment, you want the drugs. You don't want to do it naturally anymore. So I was like, oh God. So then they lay me down. The doctor comes in and she checks me and she's like, oh no, before I was starting to lay down, I started to feel wanting to push. And so they were like, let's lay you down. And so as soon as they lay me down, that's when my water broke. And it's this horrible, overwhelming sense of wanting to push. And so the doctor comes in and she's like, let me check you again to make sure, because if you're feeling you want to push, there's a chance, you know, you've like dilated. And she checks me. She's like, you're like at 8, almost a 9. She's like, I wouldn't push if I were you because you could really damage, since, you know, your cervix isn't fully dilated, you could easily rip that. And so I was like, trying not to push, and she was like, you're 8 centimeters. She's like, we're going to try to get the anesthesiologist to come in and give you the epidural, but just so you know, she's like, if you're wanting to push so badly, pretty much there's a chance that I couldn't get my epidural because I was already so ahead, pretty much. And at this point, it's like 2 in the morning, okay? It hasn't even gone that many hours. It's like 2 in the morning, and so they're looking for by the time they find the freaking anesthesiologist and he finally comes in, I was beyond pain. So they're sitting me up to try to like get me to get my epidural set up in the back because he came in. And so I have 2 nurses. One is holding my hand and I'm like gripping her hand so tightly. Usually my husband always tries to like rub my back and I hate it. I lose my shit. I'm like, don't touch me, please. Like, I can't. I'm not that person to want to be touched during things, but I like to like hold on. So I was holding on to the nurse, and so then he's setting everything up in the back, and of course he starts to ask all the questions like he's supposed to, like your birthday, your full name. I need you to tell me what I'm about to do to you right now, so that you're acknowledging what I'm doing. And I'm like, oh my God. So finally he gets the epidural in, and it's still taking some time. Like, I'm in so much pain at this point. It's maybe 2, 3 in the morning or something. And by the time they want me to start pushing, I was already exhausted from the day before, so I had like no energy. And it was late, I was tired, I had no energy. It was awful. So then I kept having to drink water. I was trying to push. I pushed for maybe 2-3 hours after that. And then it got to the point that I have a small pelvic bone, okay? My son got stuck on my tailbone. My daughter got stuck on my pelvic. My son needed that suction thing to come out because his head kept getting pushed back in due to the tailbone. My daughter didn't have any issues, but I did have to get her out quickly because she had like pooped inside, and so they wanted to get her out as fast as possible. And since she kept getting stuck in the pelvic, it was a long pushing process. But she didn't need anything. But then with this baby, they were like, we could assist you because it had been so many hours. And it got to the point that she was like, do you want to keep trying to push? And I was like, no, I'm tired. I was like, I have no energy. I need help. Like, I need you guys to get the baby out. So she was like, okay, perfectly fine. And of course, since they had to do that, they had to bring in the pediatric, they had to bring in a bunch of doctors. Like, there was literally like 10 people in the room ready for the baby to come out. And so they had to use that vacuum suction thing, and they had to suck the baby's head out. And thank God it worked perfectly fine, and it didn't cause any damage to the baby. But they pulled him out, they checked it. They did say he did poop inside of there as well, just like my daughter. And so they had to get him cleaned up. They had to make sure nothing went into his lungs, his mouth, anything at all. And then he was born at 7:09 a.m. in the morning. And then they made sure everything was okay. His head was not coned, surprisingly, because usually when they do that suction thing, their heads end up very coned. But they did measure him, and he was 7 pounds and 4 ounces when he was born. And his head was in the 95th percentile, which doesn't surprise me at this point. And so they were like, oh, that's why you needed help. And yeah, I was drained. But this pregnancy was just so different with all my previous children, obviously, but also post-pregnancy was very different. So like, as soon as I took him out, I literally felt like I could breathe again. I felt like everything that came, like all of this just felt so empty. And then I felt very weak, like oddly weak. It's just not a week that I've ever felt with that before. It was just so strange, and literally like I could breathe again. So it's just so different than all my other pregnancies, and I did not have that feeling in my other pregnancies. And then on top of that, this whole postpartum experience has been, it feels longer than any of my other kids. Like with my daughter, I remember within 2 weeks, I was like done with the pads, and I was like, oh, you know, like I'm done. I don't feel that. I never felt so awful after. With this one, I felt so weak right after having the baby. I was in so much pain. I am still in pain. And it's almost 4 months. 4 weeks. But yeah, there's a lot of things that are very, very different with this post-pregnancy. But yeah, my labor went quickly, thank God. Within that day, my husband went back home. I told him I was like, go back home, check on the kids. He went back home. He picked up the kids. The kids came over. They got to meet the baby at the hospital. So that was really, really nice to have with him. But yeah, the kids got to meet the baby. They're obsessed with him. Like, they were so excited to meet him. They're so excited to bring him home. And then since it's always 24 hours, I couldn't go home till like the next day. So of course I had my husband stay home with the kids, because what is he going to do at that point at the hospital, right? He would bring me food. And then I stay with the baby. You know, especially because the first night it's always like waking you up every 2 hours, 4 hours for vitals, for the baby, for you, for checking your stomach, for everything. So yeah, and then the next day by like, I think it was like 2 in the afternoon maybe, we got to go home finally. Oh, and that was it. I was home after that, and then life of 3 kids began. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I need to add, but I will make a video on things that I did end up using and things I did not end up using from my hospital bag, just to make it easier for you guys to see what you might need and what you won't need. But yeah, that is my birth story, and I just wanted to do it really quickly before I went into Target to go shopping. So yeah, have a great day.